I don't know how long I've been here. Days, years. Time doesn't work right in this place. I should be dead, but something won't let me go. It started with an accident. At least, I think it was an accident. I was researching anomalies in ancient magic, forgotten spells that the world had buried. That's how I found her, not in a book, not in a legend. I saw her, and that's when I realized I wasn't supposed to. When I first opened my eyes in this place, I thought it was nighttime. The sky was dim, colorless, neither dark nor light, as if the sun had never existed at all. No stars, no moon, just an endless expanse of gray, like a world half forgotten. The ruins stretched endlessly before me, towering spires that had long since crumbled, streets paved with stone that had never been touched by another soul in eons. There were no people, no animals, no sound. Even my own footsteps felt muffled, like they weren't really mine. I walked for hours, or maybe it was minutes. Time slipped through my fingers like sand, and the more I focused on it, the less real everything felt. That's when I saw her. She stood in the distance, a solitary figure draped in robes that had long since frayed and burned at the edges, as if she had walked through centuries of time and left something of herself behind in each one. Her hair was long and wild, shimmering with traces of a color that had long since faded, and her eyes, they were empty, hollow, as if she had seen too much and had given up trying to understand it. I stepped closer. She didn't move. I reached out to touch her shoulder, and in an instant, she was behind me. Her voice was hoarse, brittle, like the whisper of a dying flame. "You shouldn't be here." I asked her where here was. She didn't answer. Instead, she turned and began walking, her movements slow and deliberate, as if she wasn't walking through space, but through time itself. I hesitated, then followed. It wasn't until I had been following her for a while that I noticed something was wrong. She wasn't touching the ground. Her feet barely brushed the surface, like gravity had long since given up on her. Or maybe it was the world that had forgotten her entirely. We walked through ruins that weren't ruins, past buildings that flickered between decay and restoration, shifting as if caught between two moments in time. Sometimes I caught glimpses of people, shadows of figures frozen mid-stride, flickering like candlelight before vanishing into the mist. I tried speaking to her again. "What is this place?" Silence. "Why am I here?" She finally stopped walking, turned to me, and for the first time I saw something in her face that wasn't emptiness. It was relief. "You can still feel time, can't you?" she whispered. I didn't know how to answer that, but before I could speak, the sky above us cracked, not like thunder, not like an explosion, like glass breaking. And beyond it, I saw something I shouldn't have. Nothing. There was no past, no future, just an empty void where existence had unraveled, where everything that had ever been had simply ceased to be, and it was spreading. Frieren raised a hand, began chanting a spell that I didn't recognize. The ground beneath us melted like wax. The buildings around us shuddered and twisted, contorting into shapes that made no sense. And then I realized she wasn't casting a spell. She was unmaking one. My body felt like it was being pulled in every direction at once, as if I was slipping through cracks in reality itself. The world flickered. The ruins became cities. The cities became forests. Everything blurred together in a swirl of color and shadow until it settled into something new. We were standing in a town square, a place I had never been before, but Frieren. She exhaled slowly, looking around with something almost like recognition. Almost. This was the first place. I asked her what she meant, but she didn't answer. She stepped forward, reaching out as if to touch the air itself, and the moment her fingers brushed the space before her, the illusion shattered. The town dissolved into dust, and we were standing in the void again. I have seen too much. Her voice was barely a whisper. I have lived too long. I tried to take a step back, but the world behind me was gone. There was nothing left, nothing except her, standing before me, looking at me with something unreadable in her ancient eyes. Time doesn't take me. Her voice was too old. Not old like a person. Old like the bones of the earth, like something that had been left behind by time itself. The world forgot me, and now I cannot forget it. She lifted her hand. The space around her rippled, twisting, folding in on itself. I felt my own body unraveling, my mind slipping away. I could feel time erasing me, rewriting me, turning me into something else. And then I woke up. I was home. Everything looked normal. The sun was shining. The sky was blue. I could hear the distant murmur of people, the warmth of life all around me. But something was wrong. When I walked, my shadow lagged behind me, like it was moving through a different time. When I closed my eyes, I saw her face, and when I listened closely, I could still hear her voice. She's still there. She's watching. And I know someday she'll find me again.